Mm.
Now we are live to the world.
Good evening to one and all. Namaskar and welcome to all the participants. Yesterday was a very tragic event that happened in the human civilization. 6th August 1945, the day when lakhs of people died in Hiroshima city, one of the cities in Japan. Few days later, another bombing happened in Nagasaki. That was August 9. Immediately on the day of bombing, almost a lakh of people died in Hiroshima. Unfortunately, nobody dreamt of this tragic. Today, we gathered here to pay homage to the victims of nuclear bombing. I would like to show a small PowerPoint presentation to remember the tragic incident which should not occur in the future. So give me 1 minute, I'm just showing the picture. Hope you all can see the pictures. Yes, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is the tragic event that happened on 6th of August, and millions of people died. And generations after the generation, the genetic mutation happened, and people died because of the nuclear radiation. The debate started on nuclear wars, and people all over the world came together, say no to wars, not only to nuclear wars, but to wars. This tragic event, could bring down a curtain to the Second World War. But unfortunately, it opened a debate on nuclear and nuclear power, which continued for several years. Today, we, the Hyderabad Democracy Forum, Convergence for Sustainability, India, and Global Vision from Sao Tome, we are organizing this. This is the second event. Last year, we organized a theme to pay the homage to victims of the nuclear war. This day, the bomb was named as a little boy, which generated more than 4,000 degrees of temperature Celsius and killed 140,000 people. And it weighed anywhere between 12,000 to 15,000 tons of weight. And it was dropped just 2,000 meters from the ground. And the pilot who executed the entire operation, he did not know what he was dropping. That was the big tragedy. A worker stands next to an atomic bomb, code name Fat Man. Hours before it was dropped on Nagasaki, Japan on August 9. The Hiroshima bomb was nicknamed Little Boy. A mushroom cloud billows over Hiroshima about 1 hour after detonation. At least 70,000 people were killed in the initial blast. while approximately 70,000 more died from radiation exposure. The 5-year death total may have reached or even exceeded 2 lakh as cancer and other long-term effects took hold. This was a typical situation after the bombing, and the bomb survivors lie in bed in Hiroshima. A patient suffering severe radiation burns lies in Hiroshima Red Cross Hospital in August 1945. Many of those who survived the initial blast died of severe radiation-related injuries and illness. The aerial photo shows the Japanese army base at Hiroshima a day after the bomb. It was almost a desert. Remembering Hiroshima. Yes, this is a black spot in the entire history of human civilization on the globe. 75 years ago, the United States dropped atomic bombs on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The devastation led to Japan's unconditional surrender and brought an end to World War II. To this day, it is the only time that nuclear weapons have been used in the war. A mushroom cloud is seen over Nagasaki, Japan, after the United States dropped an atomic bomb on the city on August 9, 1941. It came 3 days after bomb was dropped over Hiroshima. This undertaking was preceded by a conventional and firebombing campaign which devastated 67 Japanese cities. This was an horrible incident. In 1939, physicist Albert Einstein drafted a letter to US President Franklin D. Roosevelt urging him to research atomic bombs before the Germans could build one first. By the 1942, the United States had approved the top secret Manhattan Project to build a nuclear reactor and assemble an atomic bomb. A man walked through a destruction in the Hiroshima. The social movements across the world raised voice against the nuclear. Anti-nuclear protests in France, 1988, 95, 82. It went all over the world, it's not only in France. Several institutions came forward, like Greenpeace, Geneva, Brussels, France, North Germany. These, major European countries started, closing down their nuclear power plants. This happened in a large scale in Germany, and still the debate continues in country like India on nuclear power utilization, nuclear technology utilization. And the people like Professor Purushottam Reddy, who championed for the cause of this nuclear, technology business, raised voice way back in 1988 and stopped the proposed nuclear power plant at Nagarjuna Sagar, which is a major irrigation reservoir. Today, it also caters to the drinking water of the twin cities. These are the issues. How do we dispose the nuclear waste and many other things today. Not only people are talking anti-nuclear war, people are fundamentally questioning the issues against the war. So we need to think twice. 8 of the 17 operating reactors in Germany were permanently shut down following the March 2011 Fukushima nuclear disaster. This was a great, gesture by the German government. Buddhist monks, Nipozan Mayohozi, protest against nuclear power near the dike of Japan in Tokyo on 5th April 2011. These are all the issues. People, the civil society, social groups say, why to build the bombs? Build the schools, build the hospitals, educate the children, improve the quality of life across the world, improve opportunities for livelihoods to the deprived sections of the globe. Why we are not focusing on? Why we are focusing on the war business, selling the ammunitions across the borders? We have to think it seriously. Already the world is threatened with pollution, and today we are also thinking of these nuclear wars. It is time to say no to nukes. Nuclear power, no thanks. We need to think seriously, and let us all stay for 1 minute in the silence to pay the homage to the victims of nuclear bomb. Please, I request all the participants to observe a 1 minute silence, please. Thank you, sir. This was the situation which happened in 1945, a very tragic incident. And I request Professor Purushottam Reddy to welcome the other dignitaries from other parts of the world.
Yeah, I have the pleasure of inviting Professor Emmanuel, our friend and peace activist from South Korea. Sir, we request you to speak. Please unmute, yeah.
It's actually somehow a great pleasure to meet you seniors in this field. It's a great pleasure. Last year, I had the opportunity to join it. And again, actually, a few hours ago, I just received a call from His Excellency Ambassador Philbert, who asked me that you are planning another session that he would like me to participate. Actually, I was also finishing another meeting here. It's quite sad to see how humanity can sometimes degrade ourselves to this level. As much as I know, we don't know of any species who creates maybe environment that could destroy them. Only human being is capable of that. About 20 years ago, I had the privilege to actually travel to Japan. And of course, I didn't visit any of the sites where the bomb dropped, but I think I was close by one of the cities, and I saw people that really have a kind of a skin problem, and a lot of them. And I was told actually this is the aftermath of the bomb that dropped on these two cities. I mean, it was maybe more than 50 years after the bomb had dropped, but yet people are still paying for it. But if you ask me, why would these innocent people pay for it? The answer is just simple. It can be greediness of some of our world leaders, their irresponsibilities, or I don't know what word can really describe how human being to some extent could come to this level. We can pretty sure that some people that just wake up in the morning, maybe preparing to go to their daily job, maybe going to feed food, and a bomb drop upon their head. Very innocent people. To be frank, maybe the people responsible for this, they are still going about their life. maybe untouched by those unfortunate phenomena. Anyway, as our professor just said, we say no to any of these things in the future. As you might have already seen, I'm currently in Korea, and just across, across this, how do I call it, across the street, we have another superpower nation who is really getting stronger by the day in terms of building his nuclear arsenal, North Korea. And we know for a fact North Korea is not ready under any circumstances to do away with its nuclear. And what do you do about it? Because we, from many, you see, there have been many scenarios how maybe to deal with North Korea. Maybe a possible scenario happened in, if I remember, in 1994, where Clinton, then president, said that, okay, let's strike North Korea maybe before it becomes strong, the first strike. But then the Korean president those days said, okay, now, you see, our capital city is about 60 kilometers close to maybe the border, and we have about more population, more than, by then maybe more than 11 million. So people maybe live around this place. So if something goes wrong, we are going to pay the price. So the concept of maybe striking North Korea first was rejected by the then president of South Korea. The second possibility was to sanction North Korea, but we know through fact, the more we sanction North Korea, the more they test nuclear weapons. So, I mean, this topic today is about, say, Hiroshima and other countries, the other city, Nagasaki. But actually, looking at what is happening in North Korea right now, what says that it's not going to happen again? So, in other words, how do we deal? How we, I mean, maybe in our own way, you don't have the power maybe to change the perception of North Korea, but how do we prevent something like this from coming? You see, maybe you were in there 60 years ago, maybe to help the world leaders see that maybe what they were doing was wrong, of course, including Japan and all the people that are involved in this astrology thing, right? But we are here right now. What can we do? Actually, I have some seniors here in the field, and what I can say that I think, basically in South Korea, I think they're trying to use this, what do you call it? Soft power approach, soft power, sort of, because they cannot really maybe use fire against fire, so they want to use the soft power. And I think what the South Korean people have discovered, maybe in order to somehow affect North Korea in a very positive way, is to use their culture. So in Korea, there's something that the Korean people call the Korean wave. The Korean wave is the culture, how do I call it? It's like a system through which they try to export their culture abroad, music, movies, soap opera, drama. So, and it seems that from what we heard from some of the people that have defected from the North, really, this thing is really having a very big impact on the people of North Korea. So it seems that the approach where you want to change the people on top in order to change the country, I think we should not change the approach. Maybe try to change the people, the general people, and if you're really affected by this wonderful approach that war is not an option, maybe there's a possibility that we can be able to change the concept of the leaders there. Actually, as once again, personally, I've never lived in a place where there's been a war, but from previous classes and previous places, really, we've seen that how people have suffered because one person or few people on top made a wrong decision. So what can we do today? This platform is really welcome. So we really don't know how I'm going to just contribute, but I'm really prepared to use whatever resources in my power in order to make sure that we do not cause such some situation again in the future. Young people in Japan, even now, they weren't there. They hasn't paid the price of maybe say the wrongdoing of their leaders, or even say the so-called super powerful countries. So it's our duty to prevent something like this to happen again in the future, and so that our children or the first batch children pay this price. So in my humble opinion, I really believe that it's about time to put away the big gun and just use maybe, as maybe the Korean people are using, maybe the beauty of a soft power in order to influence not only our country, but also the world around. So I'm very grateful to be here. And I say, once again, it's a privilege me giving this, the opportunity to express my thought. Anyway, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Professor. Actually, you, no, Marshall.
లేదు మీరు మాట్లాడినాక మీకు చెప్తాను కొత్త వాళ్ళు వచ్చి
Yeah. Thank you so much, Professor. You have spoken from your heart, and you have rightly pointed out the thirst for power. Actually, when we go back to 1945, and Japan was already defeated, frankly speaking. And it was a defeated country. It was licking its wounds. And I don't see any reason for the Americans to drop the bomb on Hiroshima. No sensible government would ever drop a bomb on a defeated country. But the Americans, since there was a competition those days, particularly between the Germans and the Russians and Americans to break the atom and develop a bomb. And it so happened that the Americans were lucky and they simply broke the atom. And immediately, within a week, they developed a crude bomb. And they wanted to show to the world that they are going to be number one in the post-Second World War scenario. That is, they wanted to promote themselves from a power status to a superpower status. But whatever it is, what the Americans have done can never be justified. It was a heinous crime against humanity. In fact, it was a crime against all forms of life. And I don't think we human beings can ever forgive the Americans for having dropped not one but two. I don't understand the logic for the second bomb. Anyway, it was cruelty on their part, and it is nothing but sadism. We should, as citizens of the world, we should all come together, and we should learn to make a common cause in order to make this planet Earth safe enough. Unfortunately, I'll just take 1 minute more. The world, according to the defense magazines, what we notice is approximately 50,000 nuclear bombs. And more than 25 countries right now come to possess the bombs. It is, you remember the Soviet Russia and the 15 Union Republics, and quite a few states in the Union Republics have nuclear installations. Apart from, the original America, Russia, then France and China and India, Pakistan, and so many other countries. And as you rightly pointed out, North Korea. Where is the need for them to produce these bombs? And where are they going to drop? So how safe is the planet Earth? So keeping all these factors, I appreciate your deep concern for peace and harmony on this planet Earth. Thank you very much, Professor. And we will be in touch in future also.
Thank you, Anna. I request you, Professor Purushottam Reddy, please invite Courage M.B. Wanda. She's from Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
It's Courage, Zimbabwe.
Madam, Mire will wonder.
Miss Courage, are you there? Maybe Wanda from Zimbabwe. Can you hear me? The representative from Zimbabwe. Hello? Okay, we will wait. There could be some. She always, joins, but somehow the technical problem. And we have one more gentleman from the telephone, 13093381396. Can you hear us, sir? No video, but only the phone. 13098381396. Please unmute your audio and introduce yourself. 130. It must be from USA. Hello. Okay. I request now, I invite Ambassador Philbert Seka. Please unmute your mic. Yeah. Anna.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, please, we would like to see you.
Yes.
You are very popular in India.
Wow. I think I have to come to India again.
You have to.
Yeah.
We all, our great ambassador Mahatma Gandhi was there in Africa.
Exactly.
Yes,
Thank you
sir.
very much, Professor Reddy. Yeah, I'm sorry I don't have a good background. I'm in the village, so I'm just trying to connect and also to share my compassion to the people of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And thank you very much for the organizer of this Zoom conference. Yeah, remembering those situations just allow us to abandon our bad habits and to see how to really prepare good values for the next generations. And for Hiroshima and Nagasaki was just a bomb. But 76 years ago, when you see what's happened and how people were losing their life 76 years ago, you can realize that human attitude and character didn't change. Yeah, we just regret for some few years, but after that, the war continues, and also the same thing, and we lost a lot of people. When we organizing this Zoom conference to think about the people from Hiroshima, I'm just thinking about the people also from Afghanistan. When you see how many years before was Russia who spent times there, they couldn't solve the problems. Many people were killed, and now Americans, they went there, they spent a lot of times, and also many people, soldiers were killed, and innocent people also were killed. And actually, America is leaving Afghanistan, but the country is in trouble, big trouble, because even the citizens, they don't know what will be their life and what will be the future of the children. And when you see those kind of things, we realize that human beings need education. We really need all of us to go back to school again to see how we can educate ourselves and to think about the greatness of the humanity, how we can live a better life. Otherwise, there will be no hope. And the things like Hiroshima can still continue, and it still continue every day. When you see the situation of COVID-19, actually is more than the bomb of Hiroshima. And recently, America, most of the people who die are from America. And this is a kind of bomb. We don't know the author of a bomb. We don't know the enemy we are fighting for, but that enemy is killing everyone, and also is dividing the world. Actually, to travel to a country to another, we have to get a lot of condition. And so our world is really in crisis. Yeah, 76 years ago, it was just a bomb, but actually it's more than Hiroshima. So I really want all of us to come together and to see how we can make our world the better one. So thank you very much. This is what I wanted to share, and continue to see how we can bring our contribution to save this world for the next generation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ambassador Gilbert. Whenever we hear you speak as a statesman, thinking about the future of humanity. And your appeal, appealing to the citizens of the world to come together and learn to make a common cause. And you have very rightly given our present problem, that is the pandemic, Corona, COVID-19. Now, this has already taken millions of lives. Of course, it is a global thing, and whoever may have started it, because as per the reports, it is China. But then, just as we blame the Americans for the nuclear bomb, we should not hesitate to point out that this is because of something went wrong in China, and the whole world is suffering. But then we need to be vigilant, because this is not the last pandemic. There will be pandemics. And as you rightly said, you gave the example of Afghanistan. And when you expressed concern, what is going to happen? The Americans are withdrawing, and the Afghans are not in a position to manage themselves. So here there is a word which is very important, that is the people, the citizens, they should come together and they should develop politically. That is, they should develop their technology of governing themselves. That is, in other words, democratic values, democratic spirit, democratic elections, institutions, constitution making, all these things. Every citizen in every country, they should, be masters. And because ultimately democracy is the best form of government, and people have to be politically developed to manage their own affairs. So your call, Gilbert, it's a wonderful call, a call to the world that the citizens need to come together, they need to be vigilant, they have to develop and master the new technologies to ensure that there is global peace. And ultimately, eternal vigilance is the price we as citizens need to pay if we have to remain safe on this planet Earth. Now,
Purushottam Reddy.
Anna.
This 130 is Dr. Subramaniam from Chicago.
Yeah, welcome.
Director. Welcome, Dr. Subramaniam. Welcome, Dr. Subramaniam. Please unmute your mic. Dr. Subramaniam. Dr. Subramaniam, please unmute your mic. Dr. Subramaniam. Okay, I will try Miss Courage, Zimbabwe. Miss Courage, Zimbabwe, can you hear me? Miss Courage, Zimbabwe. Okay.
Professor Avian.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, please, welcome, welcome. We are eagerly
Yes,
waiting for
yes.
several series. I invite you and I request you to speak on, express your concern and pay homage to the victims of Hiroshima bombing. Please, it's your platform, please.
Yeah, in terms of Hiroshima, it was not fair, and the victims are not being compensated. So, and it has affected a whole lot of generations, even after the bombing. So, in my view, it wasn't a fair practice. We have the larger states, they need to at least do something to the victims, because now it's years after the bombing, but the effects are still being felt. So it's not fair really for someone who doesn't even know why the bombing was even done in the first place to experience those things. Children are being born without, some are being born without toes, some are being born because of that effect. So I believe that they really should be compensated. That's my humble submission.
Thank you, Ms. Karesh. Anna, anything you would like to add? Yes. Sir Purushottam, unmute your mic, please.
Yeah, thank you so much for your wonderful words, Courage, Embiria
Wanda.
Wanda. Your idea about compensation, that is very well taken, but what happened in Hawaii, the temperature generated was roughly about 4,000 degrees centigrade. And people were simply gasified, they were vaporized into the atmosphere. And, so many, more than 1 lakh of people died. Estimates vary because generally governments try to keep the figure low. But that was a horrendous tragedy, a disaster. In fact, it can be described as a catastrophe of the worst kind that has hit Hiroshima. Anyway, but right now, how safe is the world right as of today? Unless we, the citizens of the world, we come together and we prevail and pressurize the United Nations, because still denuclearization of the world is yet to happen. There are, as already pointed out in most of the military journals, defense journals, the figures, that nuclear figures are estimated at about 50,000. And then about 20 to 25 nations have their fingers on the triggers of nuclear weapons. And this is very fearful. We are on the edge of a major catastrophe. And this is the time when the citizens of the world, we need to come together, learn to make a common cause. We need to exert pressure on our individual countries so that our respective political elites, they will make their voice heard, and ultimately there should be a global consensus on defusing, dismantling nuclear weapons. I welcome Alok Lalji, but before him, I would like to request Professor A.V.N. Swami.
1 second, Anna. Professor Purushottam Reddy, I would like to introduce Sri Alok Bihari Lal.
Yeah.
Good evening, sir. Welcome. Unmute your mic. Unmute your mic. Yeah, unmute your mic, your audio.
Alok, please unmute.
Unmute your mic.
Okay. Now, how about
Yes,
this?
sir. Yes. Yeah, I
Okay.
would like to introduce you to the other guests we have. We have Professor Emmanuel from South Korea. He is
Okay.
a professor in the public administration in South Korean University. And we have Professor Purushottam Reddy, a well-known environmental activist. He did his research in environment policy. He retired as the HOD, political science, Usmania University, and a good friend of MC Mehta, Delhi. And we have Ambassador Philbit from Ivory Coast, okay? And we have Courage MD Wanda from Zimbabwe. She heads the urban department in the Zimbabwe. And we have Professor Avian Swami and Silmira Trinidad. And she represents an organization from Sao Tome. It is right on the equator. And it's my pleasure and honor to introduce Sri Alok Bihari Lal, who was my senior. And if I am not wrong, he's 75 batch IPS officer. Retired as the chief narcotic officer, Uttarakhand, a great photographer, nature lover.
Good.
And
Nice.
he was also associated with a lot of political lobbying and advisor to the governor Uttarakhand for some time. Yes. So.
Nice meeting you, sir.
Allow me, Subha, to correct you somewhat, okay?
Please, sir.
I retired as Director General of Police.
Oh.
And narcotics was one of the areas in which I was very active.
Oh.
And based on my experiences in the field of narcotics, there's a book I have written called the Barabanki Narcos.
Yeah.
The Barabanki Narcos is a book about the district Barabanki where I was superintendent of police. So I had my experiences about dealing with the narcotics mafia there, and there were many exciting actions there, and I was the target of that mafia on many fronts, including killing me also. So they did not succeed, so I'm talking to you. And the fact remains that I was able to establish a record of opium recovery, which continues to be a world record even today. In roughly 2 years, we recovered 14 quintals of opium.
Oh.
And that remains till date a record. So anyways, this was by way of an introduction. I was in Indian Police Service for 37 years, did many assignments, and I was also very conscious on the environment front because I had a strong background of environment, and wherever I went as police chief to a district or to any other levels, I saw to it that tracts where it was possible to plant trees, we planted trees. I think in my career, I might have planted close to 50,000 trees. So that was one thing that I did. I was actively involved in the cleaning of Ganga. The movement of cleaning Ganga was spearheaded by a NGO called Eco Friends. And for some time, I was the president of Eco Friends and was active in taking this matter to the High Court in Allahabad. And we got a lot of favorable judgments. It went to the Supreme Court also, where Justice Punchi laid down a lot of principles for environmental maintenance of the environment and also how degradation was to be stopped. So if I may say so, there has been a bit of contribution on the environmental front also.
Thank you so much, sir. And Professor Purushottam Reddy, I understand you invited Professor Avian Swami.
Yeah, good evening.
After Avian Swami, we will invite Silmira from Sao Tome, and then Sri Alok Bihari Lal. Professor Avian Swami, please.
Yes, sir. Good evening. So I really thank Professor Purushottam Reddy Garu and Professor Subbarao Garu for giving me a chance to participate in this great event. And really, we feel very bad for such an event which occurred in 1945. And really, I don't know, the consequences were very bad. But as Professor Purushottam Reddy said, it was the dropping without the knowledge of the pilot. That's one thing, very sad scenario. But they had a very good practice before doing that. They have to drop the bomb and go 45 degrees to save them. So these are the technicalities and the very high temperatures, of course, that spoil and nuclear radiations. They're all very bad, and I hope that such things should not repeat again. I thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you all.
Thank you. I invite Ms. Selmera. Can you hear me? Selmera from Sao Tome, representing Global Visual. Selmera. Selmera. Ambassador Philip, please help to connect Selmera. Selmera, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Please. Welcome, madam. You are right
Thanks.
on the equator. Please. Please unmute your mic. Okay. Dr. Subramanian? Dr. Subramanian. Alok, Dr. Subramanian is the former director, Environment Initiatives and US AEP under the US federal government. So trying to contact him, and he is, he regularly participates in several international.
You have quite a wonderful panel, and it's international, truly multinational. So wonderful.
Thank you so much. And Professor Purushottam Reddy, please invite Sri Alok Bihari Lal to speak few words. And he's a good political critic, I say. Please.
Sir, it's my proud privilege to invite Alok Lalji today being a very important day. Actually, Hiroshima Day was yesterday, bombing. But we chose 7th because day after tomorrow is Nagasaki bombing day. So this during 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, we wanted to have programs for 2 days, but we'll see how it goes. Thank you so much for joining. Here I would like to compliment my friend B.V. Subbarao, who is known to you. It is all because of him. He has taken the lead in the Hyderabad Democracy Forum. It is exactly just we finished 1 year, and in 1 year we have so far organized 50 webinars.
Wow, that's wonderful. That's so wonderful.
And the credit goes to Subbarao-ji, who has relentlessly been on it. And we want to, because we took up so many challenging issues in South India, Hyderabad, and so many other issues. And our task is basically, we are trying to sensitize and bring the people together on common causes, particularly environment and sustainable development goals. And that too on peaceful, non-violent, constitutional methods, sensitizing, educating. So it is in this connection, and today we are strengthened with your arrival, and we hope you will continue with us in the other programs in the days to come. Now I request you, sir, please give your message on this occasion.
Dr. Reddy, thank you very much. And I know Subba, apart from being the intellectual that he is, apart from being the active conscience keeper of the society in many ways, because he's the one who is seeing to it that towns are developed on the right lines. He's an expert town planner himself. And one thing that I must tell you about him, I'm sure some of you do know about this, that he's a champion weightlifter.
Yes,
And he
yes.
was, yeah.
He's Mr. Hyderabad.
So for talking of weightlifting and talking of Hiroshima and Nagasaki also brings in Tokyo in a way. And today, the Indian team has been done proud by one of our athletes getting a gold medal, the first gold medal ever won by any Indian in the track and field events. So quite wonderful a day. And so we'll remember Japan for a very good reason from now on. Actually, in 1945, Japan was a rogue state. Let us accept it, that they were causing a lot of trouble to a lot of people. But there is no justification in doing what the US did there. However, till date, this debate is going on that if this was the only way to stop the carnage that was being carried on in the name of fighting for democracy, fighting for establishment of the correct order, the correct world order. Because it has always been so that the Western powers, and mainly the European powers and US more particularly, they have considered themselves to be responsible for carrying on the good deeds in the world. White man's burden, as they called it. And so they thought that they were required to teach a lesson to the Japs and thereby convey a message. So message did convey. Undoubtedly, that was a very key moment in a long-drawn war, and that brought the entire thing to a halt. Thereafter, it petered out and the World War was under control. Having said this, I must say that while this is a very, very tragic incident, and all of us as humanity should be ashamed of having seen such a thing having happened in this world, we are still seeing a lot of injustice, a lot of things which are being done the world over. And we can see that there are powers the world over which are trying to establish their hegemony over other parts of the world. Countries after countries are being gobbled up by the most powerful country in the world. And so this was something which was expected after a particular power was declared the victor in the World War II. And that power is wreaking havoc all over the world through its use of its own enormous power. As far as Japan is concerned, the dropping of the bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki was a very unfortunate incident. There cannot be two opinions about this, but it was a wake-up call for the humanity that to what extent can human beings become totally heartless, and to what extent, for the sake of some kind of a Pyrrhic victory, some kind of victory which is unfortunately not a happy thing to happen in this particular context, was being celebrated by certain powers. So my take on this is that that wake-up call really brought in a lot of consciousness the world over, and United Nations and other peacekeeping agencies became more meaningful in our world. And so having said this, my feeling is that there are flashpoints all over the world even right now, especially in the Middle East and in Afghanistan, and in the way that China is trying to act in various parts of the world, especially in South Asia. We have problems, and therefore we must watch out. It may not be a nuclear holocaust, but it can be a very major holocaust of another kind. Thank you.
So thank you very much, sir. Actually, after 1945, when it was known that nuclear technology can be as disastrous, because we already have seen what happens when a bomb is dropped. And the world definitely came together and they wanted to prevent another world war. And that is how United Nations came into being. an earlier attempt, League of Nations, of course, it could not function effectively. But UN has done a tremendous job when it comes to trying to prevent another global war to that extent. But as you are in the field of maintaining law and order and safety and security, I'm sure you know that the world has witnessed so many regional wars. North Korea, South Korea, North Vietnam, South Vietnam, India, Pakistan, if you go on, Arab Israel and all that. They were, global war was not there, but regional wars were there, and it continued for several years. UN is trying to bring sense to the warring nations, but these nations are most often, we have dictators at the helm of affairs, and they have vested interest in fighting. So we know all that, but still UN tried to build up a consensus on the issue of peace, and it has done a tremendous job, particularly when we look on the front of environment. The very many conferences that were organized right from Stockholm to Rio to Paris, and the amount of literature that they generated. And today the world has a prescription, and that prescription is Sustainable Development Goals, which have been given by UN. And in this, we have goal number 16, which talks about justice and peace. Justice and peace. But for this peace, each one of us have to give time. Because today technology brings our citizens together. See, for example, we are able to talk to our friends in Korea, in Africa, in so many countries. And this is a big achievement. So we need to continuously engage in discussion, sensitize, and try to assert a very strong public opinion in favor of peace. Thank you, sir, for being with us, and your friend Subharoji is there, and both of you should continue to give us inspiration.
Thank you very much, Reddy sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Alok ji. I request Alok to share your brief CV, and we would like to organize an exclusive YouTube program interviewing on your book, actually. Okay?
Yeah, that would be
sometime we can do this. And
That's a good idea.
yeah, we are also raising issues on sensitizing the people on to improve the voting percentage in urban areas.
Yes,
Continuously we are doing on this.
Great initiative, August.
Last one year. And also, we are coming out with rating of the candidates in coming 1 year. So that these are the issues. And Professor Purushottam Reddy keen in bringing out, highlighting the issues of local governments and 73rd and 74th Amendment, which today the local governments they don't exist at all.
Actually, Subha, if I may interject here, the local governments are only looking at the money which comes. And it is quite an enormous amount of money which comes to these people. And there is a general and perceptible loot of that money. As you can see, in many states, it is not being utilized the manner in which it should be.
So we need to look into it, but it's a long way to go. Still, what is democracy is still big confusion in country like in India. And democracy, we look as if it's a festival during the elections period. See, people's participation and decision-making process, which is most important in these issues. And once again, we all thank you for joining us. And
thank you.
Say namaskar to Bhabiji, and
I will do that.
I hope your son is doing good in photography.
He's busy with another conference right now. Okay. He's on another computer. I'm on my phone. He's on a computer. So we keep participating.
I wish to introduce 1 second, Alok. Hello?
Yeah.
Hello. I wish to introduce Ms. Ambassador Philbert Seka. Philbert
Okay.
Seka, unmute your mic, unmute your mic. Philbert Seka is a very enthusiastic young man, and he heads an organization in building the character and associated with USA, and he works in 6 African countries. He's based in Ivory, and I had the opportunity and privilege to bring him to India for a training under NIRD. I think you know NIRD, which is the National Rural Development. He was here. So that was he. And Philbit and Alok Bihari Lal was my senior. And, so we all enjoyed. Thank you so much, Alok. Please.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, hi. Good meeting you. Thank you. All the best.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I listened to you and yeah, good contribution.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. All the best. Take care.
Okay.
Mr. Subramanian, man Shiv Prasad garu,
sir.
by any chance could you connect to Subramanian?
నేను అదే
He's
చూస్తున్నాను
not
సార్.
able to unmute. I don't know
లేదు
what
సార్,
is wrong.
I was trying to do that, but you are the host.
He's listening all our conversation.
లేదు సార్, from your side you have to do, sir. As a host.
I cannot do.
లేదు, you unmute and mute, sir. From host side you can do it. Unmute and mute him.
It's not happening, sir.
Maybe he has connected.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now he has come. Yes, sir. Subramanian garu, welcome. Subbarao garu, మీ గురించి.
Oh, very good. Thank you. I'm sorry I'm late. I'm not really able to connect up, but
No, sir. You're on the right time for the yes.
Very good. Thank you. I was listening to very interesting conversation, but I want to just add here two observations on remembering Hiroshima. You know, I spent quite some time in Japan and
Alok ji,
Hiroshima.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Back in 1970 and now living in America. So the most fearsome sight I saw in Hiroshima was the damaged dome of the Hiroshima Professional Industrial Promotion Hall, which I took a couple of pictures there, and then I spent a day in Hiroshima. And it brought to me very sad memories of what would have happened in 1945 when USA bombed. And then, you know, when I got back to America, I found some interesting information that Gallup poll, which was made in 1945, immediately after the bombing, they found that 85% of Americans really approved of using the atomic weapon on Japanese cities. Many of them felt that people generally forget that USA remained neutral in the World War, but it was Japan that mercilessly bombed Pearl Harbor without notice. And in retaliation, the Americans used an atomic weapon. Of course, it was too rude to use that, but then they felt it was the right thing to do at that time. But today, not surprisingly, there has been a significant change in the reaction from Americans. At the earlier generation, they thought the atomic bombing was justified, especially those who were the age of 65 and older. But today, I think the younger ones, they feel that it is not right what they've done. But to add to the perspective of this Hiroshima, was USA which realized the guilt and built up Japan. You know, I spent some time in Japan working for Mitsubishi, and Mitsubishi had tie-up with the Westinghouse in US, and I found the Japanese products were no good at all before the World War. They rose up so fast in the economic world. It's all due to the USA, which really made up for whatever loss they caused. Today, Japan stands high because of USA, and they have very high respect for Americans, even though Americans destroyed one city completely. I think history repeats itself, and there have been many such instances where USA really did a lot of harm, but then eventually also built up. Japan is one case, which is now one of the prominent world powers with very strong links with USA. Look at Vietnam again. Vietnam was again subject to a lot of war, but the USA built it up. Today, Vietnam is also rising up the same way as Japan did. So I think it's a kind of historical repeat that there is destruction and then there is also a rebirth coming in. And then the country which destroyed really feels the guilt and starts building it up. It doesn't justify atomic bombings at all, but it does show that what is destroyed also gets rebuilt in a completely new, different fashion, which I think is also congruent with our Sanatana Dharma, which says that the birth, maintenance, and destruction is following in different cycles, and then it gets repeated. It is destroyed, but again it is reborn in a different avataram. The same way it is happening. So this is something which we have to contend with, but less destruction may be caused by people's awareness, particularly now with the view of pandemic, which has destroyed more people than Hiroshima bombing, and nobody is held responsible for it. So I think it's the question of nature warning us that be careful, don't overuse your scientific knowledge and inflict it on people. Use it for purposes. When the atomic energy was discovered by Einstein, he said that it can be used for peaceful purposes. He never thought it was going to be used for destruction. But it was used, but not today. We are realizing the lessons. So I think the people awareness should be there on both sides, that they should make the judicious use of science and make the best use of it for humanity. So that is my concluding remark, and thank you very much for inviting me. I feel very happy to participate in this and give me my 2 cents worth of opinion here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Subramanian. This time we could also connect to the east. We have guests from South Korea, a university professor, and we had one more guest from Equator, Sao Tome. She could not, since her battery was running down. So it was nice that you could make it, and we all come together to pay homage to the victims of the Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And I request Professor Purushottam Reddy to comment. You further add
Thank you very much.
On the Subramanian stuff. Please, sir. Professor Purushottam, unmute your mic.
Thank you so much, sir. Subramanian Garu. As you rightly pointed out, Americans who dropped bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and probably as part of their repentance, when they took up the restoration, I think we can approve. We can pardon them, and once again they were able to enable the Japanese. To that extent, it is fine. But the question is, we are worried about the contemporary situation. In the contemporary world, there are thousands of bombs, and approximately 20-25 countries have their fingers on the triggers of the nuclear weapons. And the kind of leaders, for example, in Pakistan, in other countries, even in Russia or China, where there is no democracy and dictators are controlling the nuclear button. I don't know how safe we are. And for this, in order to ensure that this life on the planet is safeguarded, we the people need to come together and constantly be vigilant and try to put some sense into our rulers so that they can all come together and develop a consensus on peace. As far as India is concerned, particularly in the Telugu states right now, myself and my friends like Subbarao Garu and a few others, we were able to stop the setting up of a nuclear reactor at Nagasaki. And that was absolutely peaceful, non-violent, highly educative struggle with Professor Shivaji Rao, Dr. Paul Gopal, and so many others participated. In addition to that, recently we have opposed successfully twice, that is uranium mining, because both at Nagaran Sagar and Nallamala. So these two areas, through democratic means, public participation, public hearing, we were able to exercise and made our voice very clear. But right now, I'm also happy that in Europe and in Japan, quite a few nuclear reactors have been decommissioned. There are much safer and viable alternatives and even cheaper. For example, solar, wind, geothermal, tidal, lot of renewable energy sources have come. There is no logic of going in for nuclear, because if something goes wrong at the reactor site, then humanity, all of us will have to pay a very, very heavy price. Here, it's important that we recall what happened, Chernobyl, 3 Mile Island, and so many other places. So, friends, just as citizens of the world, let us continue to interact and make our voice felt. So, I would like to stop here, and a very short, brief reply from Professor Emmanuel, because he is here for the first time. And sir, what do you think about today's program? And you are free to suggest improvements. How shall we go about it?
Thank you very much. I think, as I mentioned in my short minute, I had opportunity to participate in last year.
Oh,
there was maybe I remember you gentlemen, both of you.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, I remember. I think 2 times. I did that to my 3rd time, but the first time I just said hello, but today it's like I'll be given the opportunity to talk. Actually, as people say, COVID-19, somehow the COVID-19 is somehow pushing people afar, but there's something good about COVID-19 somehow. It brings us together somehow through this wonderful platform where we can meet people from around the world, which otherwise was impossible to meet maybe about 2 or 3 years ago. So for me, it's a great opportunity to hear some of you great minds and your various initiatives to bring together a certain awareness in the mind of people. Yes. Once again, anytime you have such a program, I'll do my best to attend. If really I can, I'll do my best to attend, respectful of the time. But once again, the ball is in our court, as is usually say. It's now our turn to do something, as our children and our great-grandchildren are going to say, Dad, what did you do? Grandfather, what did you do? I mean, we don't really want to be, again, irresponsible. I mean, again, yeah, because honestly speaking, for whatever you see, the leaders in the West, and of course those in Japan, made a big mistake, because Japan should have known that there's the possibility that something like it happen. And as you mentioned a while ago, what really, no matter what was the cost, why will you drop a bomb on innocent people? What do you want to show? You want to show the way that you're powerful? Come on, we are better than this. As I said, human beings sometimes tend to creep, because we know the lion, the lion does not kill to show off his power. The lion kills because he's hungry. The lion kills for a purpose. And any other animal, as much as I know, they kill for a reason. But you human being, sometimes we kill for fun, to show how much you're strong. This is terrible. We have many instances. See, in Libya, it happened in Libya, right? Yeah. It happened in the country of Saddam Hussein. It happened and keep on happening. So I will do my best to always tell my student, right, the ball is in our court. If you don't take care, some of our children are going to say, Dad, Professor, you are irresponsible. What did you do? So in order not to repeat the mistake of some of our leaders in the past, we do our best to sound this big on to awaken the people. Thank you very much for the opportunity. And again, it was a good program, if you want to say. Even it's quite, I think it's 12 midnight here, but it's almost getting to 1. But I think I'm still awakened because I really want to see to the bottom of this program. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. So we're going to conclude.
Dr. Shiv-Prasad, anything you would like to add?
Just my heart goes to the people, innocent people who lost their lives. May their souls rest in peace. At the same time, as echoing the same, did we learn lessons from the past? Just repenting, restructuring, rebuilding Japan. At the same time, again competing, threatening the world with new nukes, new technologies. And you have seen how the rogue states can misutilize and threaten and create the fear psychosis, which is already being done by another health issue in the form of corona pandemic. What if nuclear arsenal, nukes start dictating terms? Are we going to survive in a better way? And what about the Earth planet? So this is really something which is very, very, very dangerous until and unless the concerned citizens, as rightly echoed by my Guru Garu and yourself, people should graduate to become citizens. Once they become citizens, the charter of rights and demands will come to the fore. Only then the selfish deeds of these politicians or political parties at the cost of people and functional democracies will not happen. Otherwise, these sorry state of affairs, whether it in the form of pandemic or otherwise, they are really threatening our survival or existence. Thank you, sir.
Good night, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you to all the participants who accepted gracefully and participated in this discussions and paying homage to the victims of Hiroshima. Professor Emmanuel, I think it's a late night for you, troubling you. Professor Purushottam Reddy Garu and Ambassador Philbert Seka from Ivory Coast. Please, sir, please let us have the privilege of seeing you. Open your feet. Okay. Professor Swami. And we have good guest, she gave a very good message, Ambir Wanda from Zimbabwe, and Clemera participated, but unfortunately her, battery was going down. And thanks to Alok Garilal, who could make time and come. And particularly my special thanks to Dr. Subramanian, who could make, participate and then give a very impressive and valuable suggestion to us. So thank you so much. And Balaswamy also participated in today's discussions. Thank you so much to one and all. Thank you. Good night, sir. And let the planet be blessed with peace and harmony. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Namaste. Thank you. Bye-bye.